The gate hung crooked on its hinges when Olivia Morgan first saw it, and beyond that broken entrance stood the weathered ranch house that looked like her last hope in all of Arizona territory. It was October 1878, and the sun beat down mercilessly on Camp Verde, as if it had forgotten autumn existed. Olivia's 3 children stumbled along behind her, their faces hollow with hunger, their clothes little more than rags. 6-year-old Samuel clutched at her skirt, while 8-year-old Daniel tried to be brave even though his legs trembled with exhaustion. Baby Ruth, not yet 4, rode on Olivia's hip, too weak even to cry anymore. They had walked 17 miles from the town where the stagecoach driver had left them, promising this direction would lead to civilization. What they found instead was endless scrubland and this solitary ranch. Olivia pushed the gate open with her free hand, and it groaned like something dying. She hesitated, knowing she had no right to trespass on another person's property, but desperation made thieves of honest people. Her husband Thomas had been dead 6 months, killed in a mining accident in Colorado. The company had given her nothing, and her journey to Arizona to reach her sister had ended yesterday when she discovered the address she carried was 3 years old. Her sister had moved on, nobody knew where. "Mama, I am so hungry," Samuel whispered. "I know, sweetheart, just a little further." As they approached the house, Olivia saw a man emerge from the barn. He was tall and lean, probably in his late 20s, with dark hair that touched his collar and eyes that seemed to assess everything in a single glance. He wore dusty work clothes and a gun belt that looked well used but not for show. His face was handsome in a rough way, all hard angles and sun-darkened skin. He stopped when he saw them, and Olivia watched his expression shift from surprise to concern. Vincent Jameson had lived alone on this ranch for 3 years, ever since his parents had died of fever. He bred horses and kept to himself, preferring the company of animals to the complicated mess of human interaction. But the sight of this woman and her children stopped him cold. She was beautiful despite the road dust and obvious exhaustion, with auburn hair falling loose from its pins and green eyes that held both pride and desperation. The children looked like scarecrows. "Madam," he said, removing his hat, "you look lost." Olivia's throat tightened. "I am sorry to intrude on your property. My children and I have been traveling and we have not eaten in 2 days. I do not have money, but I can work. I can clean, cook, mend clothes, anything you need. Just please if you could spare any food." Vincent saw her sway slightly and he moved forward on instinct, reaching out to steady her. "When did you last drink water?" "This morning. There was a creek." "That was 8 miles back." He looked at the children, seeing the same dehydration in their glazed eyes. "Come inside, all of you." "I do not want charity," Olivia said, but her voice cracked on the words. "It is not charity if you work for it, and those children need food now, not after we negotiate terms." His voice was gruff but not unkind. "Come on." He led them into the house, which was sparse but clean. A bachelor's home, clearly, with only the essentials. He pulled out chairs at the kitchen table and helped Olivia settle Ruth in one while the boys climbed into others. Then he worked quickly, pumping water from the indoor hand pump into cups. Olivia's eyes widened at the luxury of indoor plumbing. "Slow sips," Vincent instructed the children. "Too fast and you will be sick." He moved around the kitchen with surprising efficiency, and Olivia watched through her exhaustion as he assessed his supplies. She saw his face fall slightly as he opened the cupboard, then checked the cold box. Finally, he walked outside and she heard the sound of the chicken coop opening. Vincent stood in his yard, looking at his last hen. Henrietta, he had named her foolishly. She was a good layer, had been providing him with eggs for 2 years. He had been planning to keep her through the winter, maybe breed her in spring with a rooster from town. But he had no other meat in the house. The antelope he had shot last week was gone, the last of it eaten yesterday. He had been planning to hunt tomorrow. He looked back at the house, thinking of those hollow-eyed children. Then he reached down and caught Henrietta with practiced hands. "Sorry, old girl," he murmured, "but some things matter more than breakfast eggs." The hen squawked once, and then it was done quickly, mercifully. He had slaughtered chickens since he was 12 years old. It never got pleasant, but it got efficient. Inside, Olivia had her head down on the table, Ruth in her lap, when she heard the sound. She lifted her head and saw through the window what Vincent was doing. Tears filled her eyes as understanding struck her. That was his last chicken. She had seen the empty coop, the single bird. He was killing his last hen to feed her children. When Vincent came back inside with the plucked and cleaned bird, he found Olivia crying silently, tears streaming down her face as she tried not to wake Ruth. "That was your last chicken," she said. "Chickens can be replaced. Children cannot." He set to work preparing the hen, building up the fire in the stove, setting a pot of water to boil. "There is bread in the box. It is a few days old but still good. Give them each a small piece to start with a little butter. Very little, mind you. Their stomachs need to adjust." Olivia did as he instructed, breaking off pieces of bread and spreading the thinnest layer of butter. The children devoured it like it was cake. Samuel started crying as he ate, overwhelmed by the simple relief of food. Daniel tried to maintain his composure, but his hands shook as he brought the bread to his mouth. Ruth just chewed slowly, mechanically, her eyes half closed. The chicken took time to cook properly, and Vincent made them more bread with butter, then added some dried apples he had stored. He was careful, portioning everything into small amounts, knowing too much too fast would make them sick. Olivia tried to refuse her portion, wanting it to go to the children, but Vincent insisted. "You are no good to them if you collapse," he said firmly. "Eat." While the chicken cooked, filling the house with the most wonderful smell Olivia thought she had ever experienced, Vincent asked questions. She told him everything, her voice growing steadier as the food and water began to revive her. She told him about Thomas, about the mining accident that had crushed him and 3 other men, about how the company had claimed he had been negligent, had refused any compensation, about selling everything they owned to afford the journey to her sister, only to find nothing waiting for them. "I have nothing left," she said quietly, holding the sleeping Ruth against her chest. "No money, no family, no prospects. I should not have come to your gate, but I saw it and I thought perhaps I could beg for work, or at least a meal for the children. I did not know what else to do." Vincent stirred the pot, watching the chicken cook. He should have been angry at the interruption to his solitary life. He should have been resentful about his last hen, about the mouth he now had to feed, at least temporarily. But instead, he felt something else entirely. Something that had been dormant for 3 years since he had buried his parents and decided loneliness was safer than loss. "You said you can cook and clean?" he asked. "Yes. I am a good cook. I kept house for Thomas for 9 years. I can sow garden, tend animals. I am strong, or I was before we ran out of food. I can be again. Can you handle ranch work? It is not gentle. I can learn. I am not afraid of hard work." Vincent ladled the chicken soup into bowls, adding some wild onions and the last of his potatoes. It was a thin soup, stretched to feed 5 people instead of 1, but it smelled like heaven. He set the bowls on the table and watched as Olivia carefully woke Ruth, then helped her eat. The boys dug in with desperate relief, and Vincent had to remind them twice to slow down. "Here is my offer," Vincent said, sitting down with his own bowl. "You can stay here and work as my housekeeper. I need someone to manage the house, cook meals, handle the domestic work so I can focus on the horses and the ranch. In exchange, I provide room and board for you and your children. The back bedroom is small, but it has 2 beds. The boys can share one, you and the little one can share the other. Olivia stared at him. You would do that. You do not even know me. I know you walked 17 miles with 3 starving children, and your first instinct was to offer work instead of begging for handouts. That tells me what I need to know about your character. He ate a spoonful of soup, not meeting her eyes. This ranch is isolated. The nearest town is Camp Verde, 8 miles away. It is lonely work and it is hard, but it is honest and it is safe. I am not looking for anything improper, he added quickly, his ears going slightly red. Just help around the house. I understand, Olivia said softly, and I accept, gratefully. They ate in silence for a few minutes, the only sounds being the children's careful chewing and the crackling of the fire. Outside, the October sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the Arizona sky in shades of orange and gold. What do I call you? Olivia asked finally. Vincent. Vincent Jameson. This is the Jameson Ranch, though that is a fancy name for a horse breeding operation and some cattle. I am Olivia Morgan. This is Daniel, Samuel, and Ruth. How old are they? Daniel is 8, Samuel is 6, Ruth is 3. Vincent did the calculation in his head. If the youngest was 3 and Olivia had been married for 9 years, she must have been around 16 when she wed. She looked young still, probably not yet 26 or 27. Younger than him by a year or 2 at most. How old are you? Olivia asked, as if reading his thoughts. 28. 29 come December. I am 25, she offered. I will be 26 in November. They finished the meal and Vincent watched as color slowly returned to the children's faces. Ruth fell asleep again immediately after eating and the boys were nodding off in their chairs. Olivia looked exhausted beyond measure, her eyes red-rimmed and her shoulders sagging. Let me show you the bedroom, Vincent said, standing. He led them through the small house to a room at the back. It was indeed small, with 2 narrow beds, a dresser, and a single window that looked out over the prairie. But it was clean, and the beds had mattresses with sheets and blankets. It is wonderful, Olivia whispered. There is a chamber pot under each bed. The privy is outside, 30 yards east of the house. I will show you in the morning. For now, just rest. He left them, closing the door quietly behind him. In the main room he stood for a long moment, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of other people in his house. The soft murmur of Olivia's voice as she helped the children into bed. The creak of mattress ropes under their weight. The profound silence that followed as exhaustion claimed them all. Vincent walked outside into the cooling evening air and looked up at the stars beginning to emerge. He thought about his last hen, now bones in a soup pot. He thought about the woman with auburn hair and green eyes who had appeared at his gate like something out of a story. He thought about how his carefully ordered, solitary life had just been completely upended. And despite everything, despite the complications this would bring and the adjustments he would have to make, Vincent found himself smiling. The next morning, Olivia woke before dawn as she had every day of her married life. For a moment, she was disoriented, not recognizing the room or the beds. Then memory flooded back, and with it came a rush of gratitude so intense it nearly brought tears. They had slept in real beds. Her children had full stomachs. They were safe. She carefully extracted herself from Ruth's grip and padded quietly to the main room. Vincent was already up, building the fire in the stove. He turned when he heard her, and for a moment they just looked at each other in the pre-dawn dimness. "Morning," he said gruffly. "Good morning. Tell me what you need me to do." He showed her around the kitchen. explaining where things were kept and how he liked things organized. His manner was efficient but not cold, and Olivia found herself noticing small details about him. The way his hair curled slightly at the nape of his neck. The scar on his left hand, shaped like a crescent moon. The way he moved with careful economy, no motion wasted. "I usually ride out at first light to check on the horses," he explained. "I have 20 head right now, including 2 pregnant mares. They graze in the north pasture. There are also 6 cattle, more for milk and meat than anything else. I do not run a cattle operation." "What should I prepare for breakfast?" Vincent hesitated. "I have cornmeal and some salt pork. Usually I would have eggs from Henrietta, but—" He trailed off. "I am so sorry about your hen," Olivia said softly. "I will find a way to replace her, I promise. Do not worry about that now. Just focus on getting your strength back, all of you." He pulled on his work gloves. "I will be back in 2 hours. If you need anything, ring the bell by the front door. I will hear it from anywhere on the property." After he left, Olivia explored the house more carefully. It was small but solidly built with good windows and tight walls. The main room served as kitchen and living space, with the stove, a table, some chairs, and a shelf of books. There were 2 bedrooms, one that Vincent clearly used and the one they had slept in. Everything was clean but sparse, functional rather than comfortable. She found the cornmeal and set about making mush for breakfast, adding a little of the precious sugar she found in the cupboard. When the children woke, they ate eagerly, and Olivia felt her heart lift at seeing them smile. Ruth actually giggled when Samuel made a face at her, and Daniel asked if he could explore outside. "Stay close to the house," Olivia instructed. "And do not touch anything without asking Mr. Jameson first." "Can we call him Vincent?" Samuel asked. "Mr. Jameson sounds so formal." "That is up to him. For now, be respectful." When Vincent returned, he found the kitchen clean, breakfast waiting, and the boys sitting politely at the table while Ruth played with a rag doll Olivia had fashioned from some spare cloth she had found. He stopped in the doorway, struck again by the strangeness of having people in his home. "The horses are good," he reported, sitting down. "2 of the mares are getting close, might foal within the week." "Do you deliver them yourself?" Olivia asked, serving him the cornmeal mush. "Usually I have done it enough times." He tasted the mush and looked up in surprise. "This is good." "What did you do to it?" "Just a little sugar and some cinnamon I found. I hope that is all right." "It is fine. Better than fine. I usually just eat it plain." After breakfast, Vincent took them on a tour of the property. The ranch consisted of about 200 acres of decent grazing land, with the house and barn at the center. There was a small corral, a chicken coop that was now tragically empty, a root cellar, and a well with good water. The land rolled gently, covered in tough prairie grass and scattered shrubs with mountains visible in the distance. "It is beautiful," Olivia said, shading her eyes to look at the vista. "It is harsh," Vincent corrected. "But yes, it has its moments." He showed Daniel and Samuel how to safely approach the horses, teaching them the proper way to move around animals that could kill you with a single kick if you startled them. The boys were entranced, especially Daniel, who seemed fearless around the big animals. "Your son has a natural way with horses," Vincent observed. "His father was good with animals too," Olivia said softly. "I see a lot of Thomas in Daniel, the same quiet confidence. You must miss him greatly." "Every day. But grief is a luxury I cannot afford right now. My children need me to be strong." Vincent understood that kind of strength. He had felt the same way when his parents died, when he had to run the ranch alone while processing his loss. "Strength and grief are not mutually exclusive," he said quietly. "You can be both." Their eyes met, and Olivia felt something shift in her chest. This man, This stranger who had killed his last hen to feed her children, who was offering her refuge and work without expecting anything improper in return, who spoke about grief with understanding rather than platitudes. She felt drawn to him in a way that both frightened and intrigued her. The days fell into a rhythm. Olivia woke early and prepared breakfast, then tackled the endless work of maintaining a household. She cleaned the house thoroughly, mended Vincent's clothes, tended the garden plot that had been neglected since his mother's death. She cooked meals that actually had flavor, using the limited ingredients available with creativity born of necessity. Vincent noticed that the house began to feel like a home rather than just a place to sleep between work. The children thrived. With regular meals and safety, they transformed from hollow-eyed wraiths into normal, energetic youngsters. Daniel followed Vincent everywhere, soaking up knowledge about horses and ranch work like a sponge. Samuel was more interested in the garden, helping Olivia plant winter vegetables and talking constantly about everything and nothing. Ruth attached herself to Olivia but warmed gradually to Vincent, eventually allowing him to pick her up and carry her around the property. Vincent found himself watching Olivia more than he should. The way she hummed while she worked, old songs he half remembered from his childhood. The way she smiled when her children laughed, her whole face lighting up. The way she moved through his house, bringing life to spaces that had been dead for 3 years. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. She was kind and hardworking and resilient. She had been through hell, and somehow came out still capable of joy. For her part, Olivia tried not to think about the way her heart sped up when Vincent came in from the fields. Tried not to notice how gentle he was with Ruth, how patient he was teaching Daniel about horses, how he always made sure Samuel got attention too. Tried not to remember how his hand had steadied her that first day, warm and strong and safe. She was a widow. Her husband had been dead only 6 months. It was too soon to feel anything for another man, even one as good as Vincent seemed to be. But hearts do not follow rules of propriety, and feelings do not wait for appropriate timing. 3 weeks after Olivia arrived, one of the mares went into labor. Vincent was with her in the barn when it started, and he called for Olivia to bring towels and hot water. She came running, leaving the children asleep in the house, and found Vincent kneeling in the straw beside the laboring horse. "Is she all right?" Olivia asked, setting down the supplies. "Should be, but it is her first foal, so she is nervous." He stroked the mare's neck, murmuring soft reassurances. "Easy, girl, easy. You are doing fine." Olivia watched as he worked with calm expertise, helping guide the foal into the world. It was a messy, primal process, but there was something beautiful about it too. The mare's courage, Vincent's gentle hands, the moment when the foal finally emerged, wet and wobbly and alive. "It is a colt," Vincent said, his voice full of satisfaction. He helped clear the foal's nose and mouth, making sure it could breathe. The mare turned her head to nuzzle her baby, making soft, whickering sounds. "It is a miracle," Olivia whispered, tears in her eyes. Vincent looked up at her, and something passed between them in that moment. Something that went beyond employer and employee, beyond widow and bachelor, beyond two people trying to survive the harsh realities of frontier life. It was recognition, understanding, the beginning of something deeper. "Yes," he said softly, not looking away from her eyes. "It is." They stayed in the barn until the foal was steady on its feet, nursing from its mother. Dawn was breaking by the time they walked back to the house, both tired but exhilarated. At the door, Olivia turned to Vincent. "Thank you," she said, "for letting me be part of that." "You are part of this ranch now," he replied. "You and your children, that makes you part of everything." Their hands brushed, just for a moment, and the touch sent electricity up Olivia's arm. She pulled back, flustered, and hurried inside to start breakfast. But she could feel Vincent's eyes on her, and she knew things had changed between them. November came, bringing cooler temperatures and the promise of winter. Olivia turned 26, and Vincent surprised her by baking a cake. It was lopsided and slightly burnt, but it was the sweetest thing anyone had done for her in years. The children sang to her, and Ruth gave her a drawing of a flower, and Olivia cried happy tears that she did not try to hide. "I cannot remember the last time someone made a fuss over my birthday," she admitted to Vincent that evening after the children were in bed. They sat together in the main room, she mending a shirt and he oiling his saddle. "Everyone deserves to be celebrated," Vincent said. "Especially people who give so much to others. You give plenty, Vincent. You gave us our lives back." He set down the saddle and looked at her seriously. "Olivia, I need to tell you something. These past weeks, having you and the children here, it has changed everything for me. This house feels alive again. I feel alive again. I have been alone for so long I had forgotten what it was like to have family around." Olivia's hand stilled on the shirt. "Vincent, I know it has not been long," he continued, his voice rough with emotion. "And I know you are still grieving your husband. I am not asking for anything, I am just telling you that you are not just my housekeeper. You are more than that, all of you, and if you ever decide to leave, it will break something in me." "I have nowhere else to go," Olivia said softly. "But even if I did, I do not think I would want to leave. You have been so good to us, so kind. You are unlike any man I have ever known." "How so?" She thought about it carefully. "Thomas was a good man and I loved him, but he was also hard, the way frontier men often are. He did not talk about feelings or show much affection. He provided for us, protected us, but there was always a distance there. You are different. You are gentle with the children. You listen when I talk. You notice small things like how Samuel loves the garden or how Ruth is afraid of thunder. You see people, really see them." Vincent felt his chest tighten. "I see you, Olivia. I see how brave you are, how strong, how you put your children first always, even when you are exhausted or scared. I see how you make beauty out of nothing, how you turn a house into a home just by being in it. I see you and I." He stopped himself, afraid of saying too much. "And what?" she prompted softly. "And I am falling in love with you," he finished, the words tumbling out despite his fear. "I know I should not. I know it is too soon and you probably think I am a fool. But I have never been good at lying, and I cannot pretend I do not feel what I feel." Olivia set down the mending with shaking hands. "You are not a fool. You are the furthest thing from a fool. Vincent, I have been trying so hard not to feel anything for you because it seemed wrong. Thomas has only been gone 6 months. I should still be in mourning, but when I am with you, I feel something I never felt in my marriage. I feel seen. I feel valued. I feel like an equal partner instead of just a wife fulfilling duties." "Is that wrong?" Vincent asked. "To feel this way so soon?" "I do not know. But I know that life is short and hard out here. Thomas taught me that. He was alive one moment and crushed the next, and I had no warning, no chance to say goodbye. Maybe that is why I do not want to waste time pretending I do not feel what I feel." "And what do you feel?" She met his eyes, her heart pounding. "I feel like I am falling in love with you too, and it terrifies me." Vincent stood and crossed to her, kneeling beside her chair. He took her hand carefully as if she might break. "It terrifies me too. I have been alone for so long I am not sure I remember how to be with someone, but I want to try, with you, if you will let me." "What about the children?" Olivia asked. "They are part of me, Vincent. I cannot separate myself from them. If you want me, you get all of us." "I know that. I want all of you. Olivia, those children are already part of my heart. Daniel reminds me of myself at that age, curious and eager to learn. Samuel makes me laugh with his constant chatter. And Ruth. He smiled. Ruth called me Papa yesterday. She probably did not mean anything by it, but it felt like a gift. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. She did mean it. She has been asking me if you are her new papa. I told her I did not know, that she should not call you that unless you said it was all right. It is more than all right. Vincent squeezed her hand gently. I would be honored to be a father to your children, if you will have me, not just as an employer or a friend, but as something more. As a husband, eventually, if that is what you want. I want that, Olivia whispered. I want it so much. But Vincent, we should be practical. We should wait, make sure this is real and not just us clinging to each other out of loneliness or need. How long do you want to wait? Until spring? That would give us time to be certain. Time for me to properly mourn Thomas. Time for the children to adjust. And if we still feel the same way when the snow melts, we can talk about marriage then. Vincent nodded, seeing the wisdom in her words even though part of him wanted to marry her tomorrow. Until spring then. But Olivia, can I court you properly in the meantime? I know we are living in the same house, which makes it complicated, but I want to do this right. I would like that very much. He lifted her hand and pressed a kiss to her knuckles, his eyes never leaving hers. It was a chaste gesture, appropriate for a courting couple, but the heat in his gaze promised more for the future. Olivia felt herself blush, felt desire stir in her belly for the first time since Thomas died. It was not wrong, she told herself. It was human and natural and good. The courtship that followed was unlike anything Olivia had experienced. Vincent brought her wildflowers from the prairie, left little gifts where she would find them. A smooth stone shaped like a heart, a bird's feather, iridescent blue, a book of poetry he had ordered from Camp Verde. He taught her to ride his gentlest horse, holding her steady when she wobbled, praising her when she managed a full circuit of the corral without help. They took walks in the evening after the children were in bed, talking about everything and nothing. Their dreams, their fears, their memories of the people they had lost. Tell me about your parents, Olivia said one night as they sat outside watching the stars. Vincent leaned back against the porch rail, his expression distant. My father was stern but fair. He taught me everything about running this ranch. My mother was softer, kinder. She used to sing while she cooked, just like you do. When the fever took them both within a week of each other, I thought I would die too, not from illness but from loneliness. This ranch felt enormous and empty. I kept working because I did not know what else to do, but I was just going through motions, not really living. And now I am living again, because of you. She reached for his hand, lacing her fingers through his. They sat like that for a long time, just being together in comfortable silence. Vincent courted the children too, in his way. He taught Daniel advanced horsemanship, letting the boy ride with him on longer excursions around the property. He helped Samuel build a small greenhouse for winter vegetables, patiently showing him how to construct a frame and cover it with oiled cloth. He carved wooden toys for Ruth, animals and people she could play with, and read her stories before bed when Olivia was too tired. December brought Vincent's birthday, and Olivia outdid herself preparing a special dinner. She had traded eggs from the new chickens Vincent had bought in town for special ingredients, and she made roasted chicken with all the fixings, plus an apple pie for dessert. The children made him cards and drawings, and Ruth gave him a kiss on the cheek that made him blush. But the real gift came later, when the children were asleep and Vincent and Olivia sat together by the fire. I have something for you, Olivia said, pulling a package from behind her chair. It is not much, but I made it myself. Vincent unwrapped the brown paper to find a shirt, carefully sewn from fabric she must have purchased in town. It was blue, the color of morning sky, and it fit him perfectly when he tried it on. "How did you know my size?" he asked, amazed. "I have been mending your clothes for months. I know your measurements better than you do," she smiled. "Do you like it?" "I love it. Olivia, this must have taken you hours." "It did. But you are worth hours of my time, Vincent Jameson." He pulled her close, holding her against his chest, the shirt still smelling of her lavender soap. "I love you," he murmured into her hair. "I know we are waiting until spring to make it official, but I need you to know. I love you with everything I am." "I love you too," she whispered back. "So much it scares me." "Do not be scared. I will never hurt you, never leave you if I can help it. You and those children are my whole world now." They kissed then, a gentle exploration that quickly deepened into something more passionate. Vincent kept his hands respectful on her back and in her hair, not straying where they should not go before marriage. But the kiss itself was searing, full of promise and desire and love. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Olivia touched her lips with wonder. "I have never been kissed like that," she admitted. "Good," Vincent said with satisfaction. "I want to be the only man who kisses you like that." Winter settled in earnest after Christmas. They celebrated simply, with a tree cut from the foothills and decorated with strings of popcorn and paper ornaments the children made. Vincent gave each child a practical gift: a new coat for Daniel, boots for Samuel, a doll with a real porcelain face for Ruth. For Olivia, he had something more personal, a locket on a gold chain. Inside were 2 tiny photographs, one of her 3 children and one of him. "So you can keep us close to your heart," he said as he fastened it around her neck. "You are already there," she replied, touching the locket. "All of you." January and February passed in a blur of cold days and colder nights, of ice on the water troughs and snow dusting the mountains. The ranch work continued despite the weather. Vincent and Daniel tended the horses together, breaking ice on the water and ensuring the animals had adequate feed. Olivia kept the house warm and the meals hearty. They were a family in all but name, functioning as a single unit. One night in late February, a blizzard hit unexpectedly. The wind howled like a living thing and snow piled up against the doors. Vincent went out twice to check on the animals, coming back half frozen each time. After the second trip, Olivia wrapped him in blankets and made him sit by the fire while she heated water for tea. "You should not go out again," she said, her voice tight with worry. "It is too dangerous. The horses need me, and we need you alive." She knelt in front of him, taking his cold hands in hers. "Vincent, please stay inside. The horses are in the barn, they will survive the night. But if you go out in this and get lost or freeze, we will lose you, and I cannot lose you, I cannot." He saw the fear in her eyes and realized she was reliving her husband's death. The suddenness of it, the helplessness. "All right," he said softly. "I will stay in. I promise." She sagged with relief and leaned her head against his knee. He stroked her hair gently, feeling the tremors that ran through her. "I am here," he murmured. "I am not going anywhere." The blizzard lasted 2 days, and they were trapped inside together. But instead of feeling claustrophobic, it felt intimate. They played games with the children, told stories, sang songs. Vincent taught Daniel to play chess using a carved set his father had made. Olivia taught Vincent to knit, though he was terrible at it, and they all laughed at his lopsided attempts. Ruth insisted on sleeping between Vincent and Olivia on the floor by the fire, creating a makeshift bed of blankets and pillows. When the storm finally passed and they dug their way out, the world was transformed into a white wonderland. The children shrieked with joy and played in the snow while Vincent and Olivia checked on the animals. Everything was fine, the barn had held, the horses were healthy if a bit restless from being cooped up. "Spring is coming," Vincent said, looking at Olivia with meaning. "Yes," she agreed, her heart fluttering. "It is." March arrived with warmer temperatures and the first hints of green on the prairie. The snow melted quickly in the Arizona sun, and suddenly the land was coming alive. Wildflowers began to bloom, painting the landscape in yellows and purples. The horses grew friskier, and the second pregnant mare foaled, producing a beautiful filly. On the first day of April, Vincent asked Olivia to take a walk with him. They left the children with stern instructions to stay near the house and headed out toward the creek. When they reached it, swollen with snowmelt, Vincent turned to Olivia and took both her hands. "It is spring," he said simply. "It is," she confirmed, her pulse racing. "And I still love you more than I did in November, more every day. I love you too, that has not changed. It has only grown stronger." Vincent reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. It was simple, a gold band with a small diamond, and Olivia recognized it as his mother's wedding ring. "My mother would have loved you," he said. "She would have loved your strength and your kindness and the way you make this house feel like home. She would have wanted you to have this, I am certain of it. Olivia Morgan, will you marry me? Will you be my wife in truth, not just in my heart?" Olivia felt tears stream down her face. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. "Yes, Vincent, I will marry you. There is nothing I want more." He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her with all the pent-up longing of 5 months of restrained courtship. She kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt, her body pressed against his. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. "When?" he asked. "How soon can we marry?" "As soon as you want. Tomorrow, if we can arrange it." "Tomorrow it is then. We will ride into Camp Verde and find a preacher. I am not waiting any longer than I have to." They rode into town the next day, all 5 of them crowded onto the wagon. Camp Verde was a small settlement, but it had a church and a preacher, Reverend Hartwell, who agreed to perform the ceremony that very afternoon. It was simple, with no fanfare, just the 7 of them in the small church. The children stood as witnesses, Daniel and Samuel looking proud and mature, Ruth clutching her doll and giggling at the serious atmosphere. "Do you, Vincent Jameson, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Reverend Hartwell intoned. "I do," Vincent said firmly, his eyes never leaving Olivia's face. "And do you, Olivia Morgan, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do," she said, her voice strong despite the tears on her cheeks. "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Vincent cupped Olivia's face in his hands and kissed her gently, sweetly, mindful of the children watching. But there was promise in that kiss, a vow of more to come. When they pulled apart, Ruth shouted, "Yay!" and ran forward to hug them both, making everyone laugh. They filed the marriage certificate at the town office, making it legal and official. Olivia Morgan was now Olivia Jameson, and her children were now Vincent's children in the eyes of the law. He had filed adoption papers along with the marriage license, legally claiming Daniel, Samuel, and Ruth as his own. On the way home, Daniel turned to Vincent. "Can I call you Pa now? Or should I still call you Vincent?" Vincent felt emotion clog his throat. "You can call me whatever feels right to you, son, but I would be honored if you called me Pa." "All right then, Pa," Daniel said, grinning. "Pa," Samuel echoed, trying it out. "Papa," Ruth shouted, even though she had been calling him that for months. Olivia reached over and squeezed Vincent's hand, and he squeezed back, his heart so full he thought it might burst. That night, after the children were asleep in their room, Vincent carried Olivia over the threshold of the bedroom they would now share. He had spent the morning moving his things into the larger room and preparing it for them. There were fresh sheets on the bed, wildflowers in a jar on the dresser, candles lit to give soft light. "It is beautiful," Olivia whispered. "You are beautiful," Vincent replied, setting her down gently. He was suddenly nervous, afraid of doing something wrong. "Olivia, I need to tell you something. I have never been with a woman before. I know you were married, you have experience, but I do not. I am afraid I will disappoint you." Olivia's heart melted at his vulnerability. She stepped close and put her arms around his neck. "You could never disappoint me. We will learn together, Vincent. This is new for both of us in a way. I was with Thomas, but this is different. This is about love, not just duty. We will figure it out." He kissed her then, deeply and thoroughly, and they did figure it out. Together, with gentle touches and whispered words, they came together as husband and wife. It was not perfect or polished, but it was honest and tender and full of love. Afterward they lay tangled together in the sheets, Olivia's head on Vincent's chest, his arm around her shoulders. "Are you happy?" he asked softly. "Happier than I ever thought I could be again," she replied. "You saved us, Vincent, you saved me." "You saved me too," he said, kissing the top of her head. "I was just existing before you came. Now I am living." The months that followed were the happiest of either of their lives. The ranch thrived under their joint management. Vincent handled the horses and the physical labor while Olivia managed the house and helped with the lighter work. The children grew like weeds in good soil, healthy and happy and secure. Daniel became an expert horseman under Vincent's tutelage, and they began to talk about him taking on more responsibility as he got older. Samuel's greenhouse produced vegetables that supplemented their meals beautifully. Ruth followed Olivia everywhere, learning to cook and clean and sew. In July, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. She told Vincent on a hot afternoon when they were alone in the barn, checking on the new foals. "I am with child," she said, her voice a mixture of joy and nervousness. Vincent froze, then slowly turned to face her. "Truly, truly. I am about 3 months along, I think. The baby should come in late December or early January." He swept her up in his arms, spinning her around despite her laughing protests. "We are having a baby, our baby. Are you happy?" she asked when he set her down. "Happy does not begin to cover it." "Olivia, you have given me everything. A home, a family, love, and now a child of our own. I am the luckiest man alive." They told the children that night at dinner, and the reactions were mixed. Daniel seemed uncertain, not quite understanding what this meant for him. Samuel was excited, asking a million questions about babies. Ruth wanted to know if she could keep the baby in her room. Later, Vincent found Daniel sitting outside, looking at the stars. He sat down beside the boy. "What is on your mind, son? Are you going to love the new baby more than us?" Daniel asked quietly. "Because it will be yours for real." Vincent's heart broke at the question. He turned Daniel to face him, looking him square in the eyes. "Daniel, listen to me. You are mine for real. You, Samuel, and Ruth. I adopted you legally, yes, but more than that, I chose you. I chose to be your father. This new baby, I did not choose them. They are just happening. But you three. I saw you and I wanted to be your pa, and that makes you more special, not less. Do you understand?" "I think so," Daniel said, but he did not sound convinced. "Let me put it this way. I love you because of who you are, not because of whose blood runs in your veins. And nothing, not a new baby or anything else, will ever change that. You are my son, always." Daniel thought about this, then nodded slowly. "All right, Pa, I believe you." Vincent hugged him, holding him close. "Good, because it is the truth." The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Olivia bloomed with health, her skin glowing and her hair shining. Vincent was attentive to the point of being overprotective, not wanting her to lift anything heavy or work too hard. She tolerated his fussing with good humor, knowing it came from love. As her belly grew, they talked about names. If it was a girl, Olivia wanted to name her Grace after Vincent's mother. If it was a boy, Vincent wanted to name him Thomas after Olivia's first husband. Olivia protested at first, thinking it might be strange, but Vincent was insistent. "He gave me you," Vincent explained. "Not directly, of course. But he was your husband, the father of your children. Without him, you would not have been who you are. I want to honor that." "You are a remarkable man, Vincent Jameson," Olivia said, tears in her eyes. "I am just a man who loves his wife," he replied. In December, 2 weeks before Christmas, Olivia went into labor. It was the middle of the night, and she woke Vincent with a gasp. "It is time," she said. Vincent had planned for this. He sent Daniel to fetch the midwife from Camp Verde, a hard 8-mile ride in the dark, but the boy was up to it. Then he helped Olivia to the bed they had prepared, bringing water and towels and everything the midwife would need. The labor was long and difficult. Olivia had birthed 3 children before, but this one seemed determined to take its time. Vincent stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, murmuring encouragement. The midwife, Mrs. Kelly, a capable woman in her 50s, handled the medical aspects while Vincent handled the emotional support. Finally, as dawn broke on December 19, 1879, the baby arrived with a lusty cry. "It is a boy," Mrs. Kelly announced, holding up the squirming infant. Vincent felt tears stream down his face as he looked at his son. The baby had dark hair like Vincent and Olivia's green eyes. He was perfect. "Thomas," Olivia said weakly, smiling up at Vincent. "Thomas Vincent Jameson." "Thomas Vincent," Vincent repeated, taking the cleaned and wrapped baby from the midwife. He held his son carefully, marveling at the tiny fingers and toes, the serious little face. "Welcome to the world, Tommy. We have been waiting for you." The other children crowded in as soon as they were allowed, eager to meet their new brother. Ruth was fascinated, wanting to touch his tiny hands. Samuel talked about all the things he would teach the baby. Daniel stood back a little, but Vincent called him over. "Daniel, you are the big brother now. That is an important job. Think you can handle it?" Daniel looked at the baby, then up at Vincent. "I will protect him, Pa, just like you protect all of us." "That is my boy," Vincent said proudly. Christmas that year was extra special with a new baby in the house. Tommy was a good baby, only crying when he needed something, otherwise content to sleep and eat and be passed around between his doting family members. Vincent was an involved father, getting up in the night to bring Tommy to Olivia for feeding, changing diapers without complaint, rocking the baby to sleep while singing off-key lullabies. "You are going to spoil him," Olivia teased. "Good," Vincent replied. "He deserves to be spoiled." "All my children do." The winter passed peacefully. The ranch continued to prosper. Vincent's reputation as a horse breeder grew, and he was able to sell several horses for good prices. The money situation improved dramatically, allowing them to hire a hand to help with the heavy work, so Vincent could spend more time with his family. By the time Tommy's first birthday rolled around, he was walking and starting to talk. The whole family celebrated with cake and presents, and Vincent looked around at his crowded, noisy, wonderful house and felt gratitude so profound. It was almost painful. "What are you thinking?" Olivia asked, coming to stand beside him with Tommy on her hip. "I am thinking about how different my life was 2 years ago. I was alone in this house, going through the motions. And then one day, a desperate woman with 3 starving children showed up at my gate. I killed my last hen to feed them, never imagining that simple act would lead to all this." "Do you regret it?" The hen, I mean, Olivia asked with a small smile. Not for 1 second. That hen was the best investment I ever made. It bought me you and Daniel and Samuel and Ruth and Tommy. It bought me love and laughter and a reason to get up in the morning. I would kill 1,000 hens for this. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder. I love you, Vincent. Thank you for seeing us that day, for not turning us away. I could never have turned you away. From the moment I saw you, something in me recognized something in you. Like we were meant to find each other. Maybe we were, she said softly. As the years passed, the Jameson family continued to grow and thrive. Daniel grew into a capable young man, taking on more responsibility with the horses and eventually becoming a partner in the ranch operation. Samuel's love of growing things led him to expand the gardens significantly, and they began selling produce in Camp Verde. Ruth grew into a beautiful, spirited girl who had both her parents wrapped around her little finger. Tommy was followed by another boy, James. 2 years later, and then a girl, Grace. 2 years after that. The house that had once been too large and too quiet for one lonely man was now full to bursting with children and noise and life. Vincent expanded it twice, adding more bedrooms and a larger kitchen. The ranch prospered under his management, becoming known as the finest horse breeding operation in the territory. Through it all, Vincent and Olivia's love only deepened. They still took walks in the evening when they could steal the time, still held hands while sitting on the porch, still looked at each other with wonder that they had found each other against all odds. One evening, 15 years after Olivia had first walked through his gate, Vincent and Olivia sat on their porch watching the sunset. Their children were scattered around the property, the older ones doing chores, the younger ones playing. Tommy, now 15, was working with Daniel to gentle a new horse. James, 13, was helping Samuel harvest vegetables. Grace, 11, was reading to Ruth, who at 19 was preparing to marry a good man from town. Can you believe it has been 15 years? Olivia asked, leaning against Vincent's shoulder. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times it feels like you have always been here. You remember that first day, how scared I was. I remember thinking you were the bravest person I had ever seen. Walking up to a stranger's house, asking for work, trying so hard to be strong for your children even though you were about to collapse. I remember thinking you were my last hope. And then you killed Henrietta for us, and I knew you were something special. Vincent chuckled. Poor Henrietta. She gave her life for a good cause, though. Without her sacrifice, I might have just given you some bread and sent you on your way. But there was something about killing my last hen, about that level of giving, that made me realize I wanted you to stay. It was the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me, Olivia said with a smile. Killing poultry for my children. Romance takes many forms, Vincent replied, grinning. Then he grew serious. Olivia, these 15 years with you have been the best of my life. You took a broken, lonely man and made him whole. You gave me purpose and love and more children than I can keep track of. 6 is not that many, Olivia protested. 6 is plenty, Vincent said firmly. In fact, I think we can stop at 6. Agreed, Olivia laughed. Though I would not trade any of them for anything. Neither would I. Not even the sleepless nights and the constant noise and the endless laundry. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children, watching their land, watching their life unfold before them. Ruth came out of the house and walked over to them. Pa, Mama, I have news, she said, her eyes sparkling. What is it, honey? Olivia asked. John proposed. We want to get married in June if that is all right with you both. Vincent felt the familiar pang of a father watching his daughter grow up, but it was tempered by happiness for her. John was a good man, hardworking and honest, and he clearly adored Ruth. Of course it is all right. He is a fine man, and I know he will take good care of you. He already asked you for permission, did he not? Olivia asked with a knowing smile. 2 weeks ago, Vincent confirmed. Practically begged me to say yes. Ruth laughed and hugged them both. Thank you for everything, for being the best parents I could have asked for. After she left, Olivia wiped tears from her eyes. Where did the time go? She was just a tiny thing when we met you, barely speaking. Now she is a woman getting married. Time is strange that way. It crawls when you are suffering and flies when you are happy. We have been happy, so it has flown. The wedding in June was beautiful, held at the ranch with half the county in attendance. The Jamesons had become well respected in the community, known for their generosity and hard work. Ruth was radiant in a dress Olivia had sewn, and John looked like he could not believe his luck. Vincent walked Ruth down the aisle they had created in the yard, and when the preacher asked who gave this woman to be married, Vincent's voice was strong despite the tears in his eyes. Her mother and I do, he said. After the ceremony, during the celebration, Daniel pulled Vincent aside. He was 23 now, tall and capable, the image of what Vincent had been at that age. Pa, I have been thinking, Daniel said. The ranch is doing well, and I have been managing most of the daily operations for a while now. What would you think about me taking over completely? You could retire, spend more time with Mama and the younger kids. Vincent was surprised. Retire? I am only 44. I know, but you have been working this ranch since you were my age. Maybe it is time to let the next generation take the reins. Literally. Vincent thought about it. The idea of slowing down, of having more time with Olivia was appealing, and Daniel was more than capable. What would I do with myself? He asked. Whatever you want. Travel, maybe. Mama has always wanted to see California, or just enjoy your grandchildren when they start coming. Grandchildren, Vincent said, letting the word settle over him. I suppose Ruth and John will start a family soon. And I have been courting Mary Henderson, might be making my own announcement soon. Vincent clapped his son on the shoulder. Then I accept. The ranch is yours, Daniel. You have earned it. We will still call it the Jameson Ranch, Daniel said quickly. And you will always have a say in major decisions, but the day-to-day, that will be mine. It is a deal. That night, Vincent told Olivia about the conversation. She was surprised but pleased. We could travel, she said thoughtfully. I have always wanted to see the ocean. Then we will see the ocean, Vincent promised. We will see whatever you want to see. They made plans for a trip to California the following spring. In the meantime, they settled into a new rhythm. Vincent still worked on the ranch, but more as an advisor than a laborer. He had time to teach James and Tommy the finer points of horsemanship. He had time to help Grace with her studies. And most importantly, he had time with Olivia. They took long rides together, just the two of them, exploring parts of the territory they had never seen. They talked about everything, the way they had during their courtship 15 years ago. They made love in the middle of the afternoon when the house was empty, rediscovering each other without the exhaustion of endless work weighing them down. I feel like I am falling in love with you all over again, Vincent said one day as they lay tangled in their sheets. Only falling. Olivia teased. I am deeply, madly in love with you, have been for 15 years. Deeply, madly in love then, Vincent amended, kissing her soundly. The trip to California was everything they hoped. They took the train from Flagstaff, marveling at the speed and convenience. In California, they saw the ocean for the first time, standing on the beach and watching waves crash against the shore. Olivia cried at the beauty of it, and Vincent held her close, grateful that he could give her this experience. They spent 2 weeks traveling up the coast, seeing San Francisco and the redwood forests. eating foods they had never tried and meeting people from all over the world. It was an adventure that reminded them both that life was bigger than the ranch, as much as they loved it. But when they returned home, it was with relief and joy. The ranch was where they belonged, with their children and their land and their life together. Daniel married Mary Henderson that fall, and the following summer they presented Vincent and Olivia with their first grandchild, a boy they named Vincent Daniel Jameson. Holding his grandson for the first time, Vincent felt the circle complete. He had gone from a lone to a husband and father, and now to a grandfather. The lonely cowboy who had killed his last hen for a desperate widow was now the patriarch of a growing family dynasty. "What are you thinking?" Olivia asked, watching him cradle the baby. "I am thinking about gates," Vincent said softly. "About how sometimes the most important moments of your life come through unexpected gates. You came through my gate with 3 starving children, and I let you in. That single decision changed everything. You know what I was thinking that day?" Olivia asked. "When I saw your gate hanging crooked on its hinges, I thought it was a sign that your place was broken, just like me, and maybe that meant you would understand. Maybe that meant you would not turn us away. I could never have turned you away. Even if I did not know it then, I know it now. You were meant to come through that gate. We were meant to find each other." "Meant to be," Olivia agreed, leaning her head on his shoulder as they looked at their grandson. "Against all odds, through tragedy and hardship, we found each other. And we built this beautiful life together." The years continued to pass, bringing more grandchildren and eventually great-grandchildren. Vincent and Olivia grew old together, their bodies slowing but their love never diminishing. They held hands through illnesses and losses, through joys and celebrations. The ranch continued to prosper under Daniel's management, and eventually under Tommy's as well when Daniel decided to focus on breeding instead of day-to-day operations. On their 30th wedding anniversary, Vincent arranged for a special celebration. The entire family gathered at the ranch, 3 generations of Jamesons filling the expanded house to capacity. There were grandchildren running everywhere, great-grandchildren being carefully watched, and children who were now adults with their own families. Vincent stood up to make a speech, leaning heavily on his cane but still strong at 64. Olivia sat beside him, her auburn hair now streaked with silver, her face lined but still beautiful. "30 years ago," Vincent began, "I married the bravest, most remarkable woman I have ever known. We stood in a church in Camp Verde with 3 children as witnesses and promised to love each other for the rest of our lives. I have kept that promise every single day since, and I will keep it every day for the rest of my life." "Hear, hear," several people called out. But our story did not start with the wedding. It started earlier, on a hot October day in 1878 when a desperate widow came to my gate. She had 3 children, and they were all starving. I looked in my cupboards and found nothing but some cornmeal and salt pork. I went to my chicken coop and found 1 hen, just one, my last chicken, and I killed that hen to feed those children. The room was silent now, everyone listening intently. That hen was worth maybe 50 cents, maybe $1 if I was generous, but that hen bought me everything. It bought me love, family, purpose, joy. It bought me 30 years of happiness and a legacy that will continue long after I am gone. So here is to Henrietta, the best investment I ever made. Everyone laughed and raised their glasses. To Henrietta. And here is to Olivia, who had the courage to walk through that crooked gate and ask a stranger for help. Who worked harder than anyone I have ever known. Who gave me 6 children and filled my house with love and laughter. Who made me believe in second chances and new beginnings. I love you, Olivia Jameson. Today, tomorrow, and forever. I love you too, Olivia said, standing to kiss him while their family cheered. Later that night, after everyone had gone home or gone to bed, Vincent and Olivia sat on their porch, just as they had done thousands of times before. The stars were bright overhead, and the night was warm and perfect. "Do you ever regret it?" Vincent asked softly. "Marrying me instead of trying to find your way to somewhere else? You could have started over in a city, found work, maybe even married someone wealthier or more important." Olivia looked at him like he was crazy. "Regret marrying you? Vincent, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. You saved my life and the lives of my children. You loved us when we were unlovable, fed us when we were starving, gave us a home when we had nothing. You loved my children as your own, never treating them as less than Tommy or James or Grace. You gave me romance and passion and partnership. You made me feel valued every single day for 30 years. How could I possibly regret any of that?" "I just wanted to make sure," Vincent said, his voice rough with emotion. "I am the one who should be asking if you have regrets. You could have sent us away that day. You could have given us a meal and directed us to town. You could have kept your solitary life, your last hen, your quiet house. Instead, you chose chaos and noise and all the complications that come with a ready-made family. Do you regret it?" "Never," Vincent said firmly. "Not for one single second. That day you came through my gate was the best day of my life. Until the day I married you. Until the day each of my children was born. I have had a lot of best days, Olivia, and they are all because of you." They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, watching the stars. The gate that had brought them together was long since replaced with a sturdy new one, but Vincent sometimes kept the original broken gate in the barn. It was a reminder of where they had started, of the fragile beginning that had led to this strong and lasting love. "Promise me something," Olivia said suddenly. "Anything. Promise me that if I go first you will not give up, that you will keep living, keep being part of this family we built. I know how loneliness affected you before I came. I do not want you to retreat into that again." "I promise," Vincent said, though the thought of life without Olivia was unbearable. "But the same goes for you. If I go first, you keep living. You keep being the heart of this family." "I promise," Olivia agreed. As it turned out, they did not have to worry about that for many more years. Vincent and Olivia lived to see their golden wedding anniversary, surrounded by 4 living generations of Jamesons. The celebration was even larger than their 30th anniversary, with people coming from all over Arizona territory to honor the couple who had become something of a legend in the area. The story of the widow and the cowboy who had killed his last hen had been told and retold so many times it had taken on a mythic quality. Young couples cited it as proof that true love existed. Parents told it to their children as an example of kindness and generosity. The Jameson Ranch had become synonymous with family values and hard work. Vincent was 84 and Olivia was 83 when she passed away peacefully in her sleep one spring morning. Vincent woke to find her still and cold beside him, and the pain was immediate and overwhelming. But even through his grief, he felt gratitude. They had had 52 years together. 52 years of love and laughter and partnership. Not everyone got that. Most people did not get half that. He kept his promise to her. He did not retreat into loneliness. He stayed active in the family, telling stories to the great-great-grandchildren, advising Daniel's son who now ran the ranch, sitting on the porch and remembering. He visited Olivia's grave every day, bringing wildflowers and talking to her about everything and nothing. 2 years after Olivia passed, Vincent followed her. He died in the same bed where she had died, in the same house where they had loved each other for over half a century. His last words were her name. They buried him beside Olivia on a hill overlooking the ranch, under a large oak tree they had planted together their first year of marriage. The funeral was attended by hundreds of people, all coming to pay respects to a man who had lived a good life, who had loved deeply and been loved in return. Daniel, now in his 60s, stood at the graveside and told the story one more time. The story of how a widow with 3 starving children had come through a crooked gate on a desperate October day. How a lonely cowboy had looked in his coop and found only one hen. How he had killed that hen without hesitation, giving his last resource to feed strangers. And how that single act of kindness had blossomed into a love story that spanned 5 decades and touched hundreds of lives. "My father taught me many things," Daniel said, his voice strong despite his tears. "He taught me how to gentle a horse, how to run a ranch, how to be a man of integrity. But the most important thing he taught me was that love is not about grand gestures or perfect circumstances. Love is about killing your last hen to feed someone else's children. Love is about opening your gate, even when it is crooked and your life is small and quiet. Love is about choosing every day to be kind, to be generous, to be present. My father loved my mother with that kind of love, and she loved him the same way. They built a legacy not of wealth or fame, but of family and devotion. And that legacy will continue through all of us gathered here today." The Jameson Ranch continued for generations after Vincent and Olivia died. Their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren maintained it, each adding their own touch while honoring the foundation that Vincent and Olivia had built. The story of the widow and the cowboy became a treasured family history, passed down through the years as a reminder of where they came from and what mattered most. And on the ranch, in a place of honor, stood a small monument. It was a simple stone marker that read, "Here stood the gate where Olivia Morgan first came seeking help in October 1878. Vincent Jameson opened that gate and his heart. Their love built this family. Never forget that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything." Beside the monument was a newer addition, placed there by Vincent before he died. It was a small bronze plaque that read, "In memory of Henrietta, a hen who changed the world, thank you for your sacrifice." Visitors to the ranch often stopped at the monument, reading the words and marveling at the story. Young lovers came to have their pictures taken there, believing it would bring them good fortune in their own relationships. Families brought their children to teach them about generosity and love. The crooked gate that had started it all was long gone, replaced by sturdy new gates over the decades. But the spirit of that gate remained. It remained in the open-hearted generosity of the Jameson family. It remained in the way they welcomed strangers and helped neighbors. It remained in the legacy of love that Vincent and Olivia had created from nothing but desperation, kindness, and one sacrificed hen. And so the story ended the way all great love stories should end. Not with death, but with life continuing, with love multiplying, with a legacy that touched the future in ways the original lovers could never have imagined. Vincent and Olivia were gone, but they were not forgotten. They lived on in every member of their family, in every act of kindness, in every open gate and warm welcome. They lived on in the land itself, the ranch that had witnessed their love story and now stood as a testament to it. They lived on in the wildflowers that bloomed on their graves each spring, planted by children and grandchildren who knew the story and honored it. They lived on in the hearts of all who heard their tale and were inspired to open their own gates, to give their own last resources, to love with the kind of wholehearted devotion that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. The widow and the cowboy, the starving children and the sacrificed hen, the crooked gate and the lonely ranch. All pieces of a story that proved what Vincent and Olivia had always known, that love is not found in perfect circumstances or ideal timing. Love is found in the courage to ask for help when you need it, and the generosity to give help when you can. Love is found in open gates and killed hens and strangers who become family. Love is found in choosing each other every day, through hardship and joy, through youth and age, through life and beyond. And in the end, that is all that matters. Not wealth or fame or perfect circumstances, but love. The kind of love that starts with a crooked gate and ends with a legacy that spans generations. The kind of love that Vincent and Olivia built together, one day at a time, for 52 beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary years. The kind of love that never really ends because it lives on in every person it touched, every life it changed, every heart it opened. Their story was complete, a closed circle of perfect symmetry. They had found each other in desperation and parted in peace, having lived fully and loved deeply, and left the world immeasurably better than they found it. And if love could ask for nothing more, then neither could anyone who had been lucky enough to know them, to hear their story, or to walk through the gates they had opened so many years ago on a hot October day in Arizona territory.